Welcome to another edition of the Live for Life podcast. My name's Jason Arena. Today we have a very special guest on for you that I'm actually honored that she was willing to come on and speak today. She's a fighter. She's a survivor of stage 3 breast cancer, and she's in her, the 2 to 5 year span. She also had a lot of tragedy in her life. Me and her have something horrible in common. We both lost a spouse. She unfortunately lost her husband to liver cancer. But she's a fighter, like most of the women who I know who are dealt with something like this. They are resilient. My wife was resilient, and I'm sure you are too. I'm glad that you came on. Let me introduce Kristin Pope. Why don't you tell the viewers a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So, when I think about introducing myself, I think about before 2019, right? That was when my whole world fell apart when I was first diagnosed. And then 6 months later, my husband was diagnosed with liver cancer. Prior to that, I was your normal, typical person. I had a great job. I still do. House I loved, pets I loved, a husband I loved. We traveled. We loved cooking. We loved gardening, reading. We watched lots of movies. He loved aliens movies and, World War II movies. Not my favorite thing. But I just was like a typical person living my life, going through the motions. And frankly, when I look back, I think about how much I took for granted and what a blessing that was. I mean, I would give anything, and I don't know about you, Jason, but I would give anything to go back and just be taking my life for granted. Just, the everyday things, all the things that you look forward to. But today, here I am. As you said, I'm almost 3 years out from my initial breast cancer diagnosis, which was initially a very early stage diagnosis that turned into a potentially metastatic diagnosis, but I was really fortunate that it was a stage 3 diagnosis, and a widow. I never thought I would be a widow. My husband used to tease his mother, he would call her the little widow that lived down at the end of the lane. And now I think I'm that little widow that lives down the end of the lane. So, I love animals. I do a lot of work in animal rescue. I am very interested, though, after my experience, in doing more to help people navigate the healthcare system.
A couple of questions that I have. How did you guys react? How was your mindset when you're at it? Like when you got, what was your husband's mindset? And vice versa.
No, I mean, when I was first diagnosed, I was told I had stage 1A cancer. A really early stage breast cancer. This was going to eat easy. I elected to have a lumpectomy, and I would have radiation for 4 weeks, and I'd be done by Thanksgiving. And I had my surgery. My surgeon ended up being just spectacular. I was so lucky that I connected with him, because one of the things I don't think many cancer patients realize, and when I was talking with women who had breast cancer, is you're connected to this surgeon pretty much for the rest of your life. So you better like them and trust them. Trusting your medical team is so important. So my surgeon told me, we did a breast MRI. He did everything he could to collect data on what my situation was. And I had from my mammogram, a very early stage breast cancer. It wasn't until I woke up after having the lumpectomy and seeing my surgeon's face in my face saying, "I'm so sorry, it's in your lymph nodes." It was unexpected. And the cancer I had was very aggressive. And so I think my reaction was denial, and my husband's reaction was hopeful. We're going to get through this. You're going to be fine. There's a lot of treatment, which is true. I mean, fortunately, even though, as your wife is an example, there are so many breast cancer patients who die, right? Too many. And we don't pay enough attention to those that have metastatic breast cancer. So much emphasis is put on early detection. And frankly, I felt guilty. I thought, I got a mammogram every year. I am up on all of my vaccines. I do all of my preventive, exams and tests. And I felt guilty that I had stage 3 cancer. I felt like I needed to explain to everybody, I didn't do this on purpose. This is a mistake, because there's a lot of stigma associated with cancer. But I think for my husband and I, our reactions were a little different. I was really worried. I'm someone who likes a lot of data. I like information. I like to read studies. I like to know all the treatment options. I'm on PubMed and looking at, studies and trying to interpret. I'm not a scientist, but trying to interpret them myself. I have a lot of friends who are in the medical community who can help me with that. And my husband's response was to essentially say, you're going to be okay because there's no other option. Like, you're just going to be okay. And for a caregiver, I had this complicated experience where my husband was my caregiver for several months while I was going through chemo. And then bam, I was his caregiver as he was going through treatment. So we never even had a moment to stop and reset and figure this out. It was just, you're my caregiver. Oh my God, now you're the caregiver. And it was a lot. I remember my husband would come home and say, I was sitting in my car crying in the parking lot because I don't have anyone to talk to. And I would say, yeah, but you do have people to talk to. You have your friends, you have others you can talk to about this. And he would say, oh, no, I don't think I do. This is a lot for me. Oops, sorry. This is a lot for me and I don't know how to talk about it. And I think part of that is because we as a society don't talk about cancer the way we should. Sorry. This is the fun part about doing a podcast, right?
Yeah.
It's all real life crap. Okay, I think I muted it. Oh my God, these phones that talk. I'm old school. I have a landline. I'm waiting for the zombie apocalypse. I just can't give it up. All I get but I'm not giving that sucker up.
I would say with everything that you've gone through, that the zombies would have their hands full. So, okay. So you said that you, my wife had a very similar story to yours. She was, for some reason this was 2014. So for some reason at 36 years old, her nurse practitioner wanted her to have a mammogram. So she would have she'd have a baseline. Mm-hmm. And I had really good insurance at the time. I had really great insurance. I was in the union up north, mm-hmm. and they fought the insurance company and they got it. And what they saw was two small spots. So they said, okay, we want you to come back in 6 months and we're going to check it again. They came in 6 months later, the 2 spots became 1 spot. Yeah. So now they did a biopsy, and then that's when they found out that she had very similar to you. She had very early stage breast cancer, but it was an aggressive form of cancer. And when she passed away, it was very, it was the most difficult time of my life, to be sure. Being a caregiver for somebody that you love. Yeah. I'm go through it. Unless you personally go through it, you have no idea what it's like. Because I could be a caregiver for somebody else. I could be a caregiver for a stranger. Somebody needed comfort. Somebody needed some care. Somebody needed some support. I could go there and talk to somebody and support them, and I could do that. But as far as being a caregiver for somebody who I'm so close to again, I personally don't think I could do it again.
The horrible thing about cancer, and my husband, his liver, he had liver cancer, and it was funny because his initial diagnosis was the opposite of mine. They said, oh, it's metastatic, there's nothing we can do. And then they did a biopsy of the suspicious lymph node, and that biopsy came back inflammation. And they said, oh my God, you're stage 3, we can do a liver transplant. So he went through this entire process of getting a liver transplant, recovering from that. And then on his first scan, 3 months after his liver transplant, he had cancer all throughout his liver. I think that what I learned from this experience is how much the medical community cares and how hard they try and how much they don't know.
Well, I don't feel like it's the medical field that's the problem. I feel like it's insurance and the FDA that is the problem. I think that doctors are handcuffed with what they can actually do.
Yeah.
And that's a problem when a doctor has to fight an insurance company for treatment that they want to do to their patients. And it comes down to cost. Well, what do you mean cost?
Yeah.
We're talking about somebody's life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know, like you said earlier, I don't know how people get through this without any support. And I saw the same that I witnessed the same thing that you did. I witnessed too much where I couldn't just not do anything. You know what I mean? And my wife gave me the inspiration to get this started, like get the foundation going, because there is a drastic need. I could have one of the most successful nonprofits in the whole country, and there would be need for 100 more like mine. You know what I mean? And people don't realize how costly the collateral damage that's caused to the family with the costs are insane. We met our yearly maximum $9,981 every year by May.
Yeah.
And that's with insurance too.
Yeah. No, and I have great insurance, and I had grants, from the company's genetic tech, I think that's how you pronounce it, that produces Herceptin. I could not have paid the $2,000 every 3 weeks for the infusion that I got. And fortunately, there are drug programs like that, but I think I think one of the things I saw, and I was I had never been a part of the medical system before. I was this healthy person. I was worked out. I did all my screenings. I found my doctor, my internist used to say, I hope you feel as good as all your numbers tell me you do, because you're so healthy. And then this seemed to come out of nowhere. And I was unequipped. I had never been in the hospital before. I didn't know what to even expect. I was terrified to have my lumpectomy because I was afraid of the anesthesia. And now I think about, like, that was the least of my worries, right? And the port insertion, the PET scans, all these other things I've gone through where I'm now, I don't even flinch when someone comes forward with a needle. It's like, poke me. I don't care. But I do think there is I don't know if the word is illiteracy as consumers of healthcare, which makes us somewhat powerless, right? Like, I didn't know the questions to ask. I didn't know the things I should be concerned about. I hadn't consumed healthcare in this way. And I do think it puts patients in a position where obviously we have this whole, mythology around the medical profession, and people go to school and they learn all of this stuff and they're amazing and very talented. But sometimes you sitting there as a patient have much more knowledge about what you're experiencing. And I saw in my experience that knowledge was not always capitalized on, that we have a very, I don't know what the word is. It's like an upside down situation. This should be a collaboration. When you're going through this life-threatening experience and you need your medical team and you want to trust them, this should be a collaboration.
Now, how long were you in treatment for?
So I had chemo for 4 months and then had infusions of immunotherapy, Herceptin for another 8 months. And then I was on a new drug, a new oral chemotherapy for a year that is prescribed for HER2 positive cancer patients. And and then I had radiation and I'm currently on an aromatase inhibitor that my cancer was weekly. estrogen positive. So I'm on a drug that prevents my body from producing estrogen, which creates a whole lot of other problems.
Are you? Is it Lupron?
No, I'm on a drug called Femera.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are the daily side effects that you deal with?
The major side effects are that I am osteopenic, which means I'm in the early stage of osteoporosis. So I get every 6 months I get an injection of a drug that helps build my bone mass. But you know what? This is something I've been thinking a lot about. One of the things, and I was talking with a friend of mine who's in the oncology community. She's not an oncologist, but she works with cancer patients. And I said, I've recently started working out in probably people have seen this Orange Theory, right? It's like
I know about Orange Theory.
Yeah. And so, I was afraid to do it. I have a friend who fell off the treadmill like 5 years ago. And so I was like, oh my God, hell no. If I do that, I'm going to like break my bones. I'm like a fracture risk. And another friend of mine said, no, you should try this. Like they modify things and you need cardio and you need bone building activity.
Yeah.
No one talks to you. Like when I told my oncologist I was doing Orange Theory, I keep calling it Orange Therapy. When I told her I was doing Orange Theory, she said, oh, that's fabulous. You're going to build bone. That is what you need to do. Okay. Yep. Why didn't you tell me that?
Right.
Like, why didn't you write that down on a prescription pad and hand it to me? Because I would have done it. I'm very compliant. I found it myself. And I think that we don't, and so this friend of mine who's in the oncology community said, oh God, Kristin, that's such a hard sell. No one wants to do hard cardio and, bone building, strength training. But if it's a matter of your quality of life and your potential, outcomes, people may think differently. I mean, I think we need to think about things differently in how we treat cancer patients. Yes, they're vulnerable. I remember being so vulnerable. I remember fainting when trying to walk my dogs. I remember not being able to walk across the house. I was so exhausted and in so much pain.
Well, one of the things to do with the foundation is help people get. Hopefully, I get enough funding. My first idea is to give people medical spending cards that they could use to pay for their medical debt. Okay, that's what I would like to do. But another thing that I would love to do is to provide people a place to go to get a vitamin supplement IV. So, like you said, you have a problem with bone building. Well, if you went and got some vitamin D, some vitamin C IV supplements, they're expensive.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get the funding where I can provide people with these IVs because I know that they're effective with combating side effects. If you like you said, you're going and you're working out. I feel like if people now, my wife, she was going through some pretty radical treatments. She was stage 4, and the treatment plan is completely different. Immunotherapy wasn't an option for her because it was in various parts of her body and the type of cancer that she had. And at the end, when she started doing alternative treatments, they were doing vitamin supplement IVs to her, and it made her feel amazing. It really did. She started to boost her body up. You need to fight this. Yeah, I feel like if people fought cancer on a 2-front war, you can't win a 2-front war. You know what I mean? So if you have the chemotherapy and you're feeling well enough where you can actually do something else, or if you're not feeling well enough and you get some vitamin IVs and we try to boost your immune system at the same time that that the chemotherapy is completely destroying it, then I think that would be an effective way to try to battle some of these side effects, because you said you dealt with some side effects with your chemotherapy. Well, Marilyn went through 4 different types of chemo, 5 really, if you consider the first round that she went through when she was early stage. And then she was on Verzenio, Ibrance. She was on Verzenio to start, and then when that stopped being effective, she went to Ibrance, which was like a kind of like a sister therapy, but was maybe do something else. But then Ibrance didn't work, so then they tried IV chemotherapy again. She went on Abraxane, and then after Abraxane, they put her on the last one that she was on was called Piqray. And Piqray gave her the worst side effects of any of the treatments that she ever did. Her blood sugar went from 84 to 527 in 12 days.
Yeah.
She was a diabetic, and she had cancer.
Yeah.
So it was the side effects, I feel like, are debilitating to the point where they don't allow the patients to heal. There's no healing time. There's no time for your body to recover. You know what I mean? So it's very daunting. Like, I went to a lot of most of Marilyn's treatments. I went to a lot of her checkups. She went through radiation. She went through chemo. Now with COVID, it was hard. You couldn't go in all the time.
Yeah.
Some of the times, some of the doctors were cool because a lot of the days she was weak. She needed help.
Yeah.
And some they would let me in. Sometimes they wouldn't let me in. A lot of times, her when she had to go to the infusion center, if there was nobody else in the back, the nurses that worked there were really, really cool, and they would let me go back there as long as I had a mask on and all my stuff on.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, I was there alone even when visitors were. I mean, we had the unfortunate situation of dealing with cancer before COVID and then after COVID.
Yeah.
The problems with the medical field.
Yeah.
My wife found it very difficult to get treatment for life-threatening symptoms sometimes.
Yeah.
To the hospital. It was very bad. And I've heard that it's getting better now. But metastatic breast cancer is one of those things where a lot of people don't even realize that 30% of women who are diagnosed with early stage cancer go stage 4.
Yeah.
And once you go stage 4,
that's it.
By 5 years, 80% of those women have passed away.
Yeah.
So it's a very aggressive disease, and the collateral damage that's caused while it's happening is like a stage 5 hurricane, a category 5 hurricane, just nonstop over your head, and you just don't know when it's going to end.
Yeah.
Oh, and then
totally.
it still hasn't ended. My wife passed away last August 20th, and with my family it's so different now. With the you lost a spouse. It's just not the daily
life. Yeah.
Even me experiencing new things.
Yeah.
I'm happy for a second, and then I want to see her reaction. You know, like it's so silly, like the most silly things, like you go somewhere, you might go to a store and find a new flavor of potato chips.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean when taking life for granted is the most wonderful gift you can ever have. I remember when I first was diagnosed and getting into the Instagram world of cancer patients, particularly breast cancer patients, and there was like this, I found a mythology of, oh, you're going to grow. I was like, I was happy. Like, I didn't need any lessons. My life was great. If some higher being wanted me to do something different, tell me some other way. I don't need it. I loved the minutia of life, right? Yes. Fighting over what we're going to watch tonight on TV. Yep. Coming home with a new bag of potato chips, a flavor we've never tried. Let's try it. Maybe we hate it. Yep. That to me is the most joyful thing, is being able to take life for granted. And I don't mean that in a way that I don't value life. I mean in a way that you expect tomorrow to be here and you expect it to be okay.
Yep.
And when that's taken away from you, oh my goodness. Yeah. I not only from my own cancer experience, but my husband's, cancer is, quite frankly, to me, evil. I don't think anyone needs a lesson in life from cancer. I would never give cancer that benefit. It is pure evil. We have so many other ways to learn lessons in our life, and cancer is absolutely not something that needs to affect anybody. It's evil. It's pure evil.
How many times have I've sat and used to say to people, why does this even exist?
Yeah.
Why is this even a thing? Like, what is going on right now? Like, why is this happening to my wife who's She passed away when she was 43.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
What is going on right now? Like, why is this? And my wife's not the only one. There's multiple. There's women. We had my wife's friend. Her and her friend. She was Irene was, I think, 3 or 4 years younger than Marilyn. Maybe a little, 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Her and Irene got diagnosed in the same month, I think, or a couple of months apart. The only difference is Irene had the gene. She was positive for the gene, and within 2 years, she passed away. Yeah. And she was in her early 30s when she passed away. I don't want to misspeak about her age, because I loved Irene. She was awesome. I'm just not good with like that. But
she was young, way too young.
She was in her early 30s.
If she was 60, it was too young.
Again, beautiful person, just a beautiful person. She was so awesome. The medical field, honestly, I have very strong feelings about the medical field.
Yeah.
Just because of what I witnessed with Marilyn, and I feel like not enough is done. Nobody cares about mental health.
Yeah.
Everyone just cares about your physical health. Like, as long as you're physically healthy, you're good. You know what I mean? But if you're like somebody like my wife, who was dealing with a terminal disease, she has 3 kids. She's unsure of the future. She thinks my wife thought she was a burden. She felt like it was big. She told me multiple times that she felt like it would be better if she wasn't here anymore, because she was bringing the family down, and it's like constantly trying to reassure her that that's not reality.
Right.
That it's not going to be better when you're not here, because it's not. You know what I mean? And we're not going to be better off that you're not here. You know, like that constant. There should have been some support for her.
Yeah. And for you.
And why does, like, hospice? I love hospice. Okay, they did an amazing job. Marilyn was in hospice for a very short time, but after hospice was over, after Marilyn passed away, hospice follows the family for a year. They provide therapy. They provide this. They provide that. Where is the therapy beforehand?
Yeah.
Why wasn't there therapists coming in to talk to kids once my wife went stage 4?
Yeah. No, I agree totally.
Yeah.
When Noel when he came home from his last hospital stay, before his very last hospital stay, we had palliative care coming to the house. And I remember when the nurse came and she said, he's very anxious and he's not on anti-anxiety drugs. And I said, well, I've been trying to get him on drugs, because I've been on anti-anxiety drugs at that point for like 2 years, which were really helpful. I was in therapy for other reasons during my breast cancer, completely unrelated to my breast cancer. And then as things unfolded, my therapist helped me figure out what might help me cope with the situation.
Yep.
I was worried about, I don't want to tune out my experiences. I don't want to be numb. And she was like, no, this is going to help you cope with the experiences to come. So I remember probably about 4 weeks before my husband died, the palliative nurse saying to me, oh my God, he should be on anti-anxiety drugs. I mean, this man is so anxious. It's unnecessary. He's in pain. And I said, he keeps telling me no one's told him he needs them. And I keep asking every doctor, could you please tell him he needs anti-anxiety drugs? And they were like, well, he hasn't asked for them. And I'm like, he's not going to. Tell him. And so this nurse said, I got it. I'm going in there. And I I remember standing in the doorway listening, and she said, hey, baby, do you think it would help you if I prescribe some anti-anxiety drugs for you? And he said, oh, yes, please. I think it would help me. I think I would sleep better. I'd feel better. And so for the last 3 or 4 weeks of his life, he was on anti-anxiety drugs. Yeah. He dealt with his cancer for over 2 years. He was dealing with the fear, all that anxiety, the unknown. And if there are things we can do to support people's mental health through this, I think that's one of the most important things. Yeah, there's a lot of this that's physical around the cancer. This. I mean, I learned quickly, no cancer. You see one cancer, you've seen one cancer, right? even within a type of cancer, breast cancers, you've got people who have small tumors who die quickly, large tumors who live for 30, 40 years,
Yes.
people who never have a recurrence, people who respond. And then you have liver cancer, pancreatic cancer, esophageal cancer. Like you've got all these other cancers that are all very different. So biologically, it is very complicated, but emotionally, it's not. We have tools to help people cope. And yet, I found that was it was almost like he was feeling he was failing if he needed drugs. And I was like, give him the drugs. Like, my God.
Well, I created the Maryland Arena. I created the Maryland Arena Foundation to help metastatic breast cancer patients specifically. Hopefully, in the future, I can generate enough funding where I can expand that a little bit. But honestly, the metastatic breast cancer community, like I said, I could have one of the most successful nonprofits in the country, and there'd be a need for one in each state.
Yeah.
So there is such a need for this that it's. I feel like it's something that should be looked at more. Like you said, the mental health side of it. I'm trying to help people just with the financial end of it to start. I want to supplement. I want to pay for some supplements. I have actually one thing that I am doing right now. I was able to join a boating club. There's a lake right next to me that's just like this huge man-made lake. It's got like 700 miles of coastline. And I've joined a boating club. And what I've done is I've been doing some outreach, and I've been trying to get in touch with some people who are dealing with stage 4. And I would like to just take them and their family out on the lake for a day. That is just a relaxing day. You get away from your treatments. You get away from your problems. Come out on the lake. We'll go on the lake. We'll cruise around. We'll go anchor off by a beach. We'll go swimming. We'll go, we'll go tubing. Your kids will go tubing. We'll have a great day. And that right there could make the difference in somebody's week or month or something. Just something little silly, like not silly, a memory making opportunity, because that's what it's all about when you're dealing with stage 4. Trust me, these pictures that I have in back of me, this is when my wife, this was the last Christmas that we spent together. This was her at my oldest daughter's graduation. That was 2.5 months prior to her passing. This was the last beach trip that we took.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, this was on that same trip, so it's like the memories that we made in the time, like, because my wife, she made a very tough decision. She decided to stop doing treatment.
That is a tough decision. Yeah.
She decided to stop doing chemotherapy. She continued on with her because she had, like you, estrogen-based cancer, but she was estrogen-based, her 100%. So she was on this Lupron that was just the menopause, and it was just, she had to deal with that. It was a very life-changing experience. It changed everything about her. It changed her body. It changed the shape of her body. The chemotherapy does so much damage to your body that it changed the shape of her body.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I witnessed that from start to finish, and it was one of the most horrible experience that I could think of.
Yeah.
Sort of one of my kids sick, and me having to go through the same thing with one of my kids, God forbid, but that would be the top awful thing in my ever. But this is right now for me. Because of what we went through and because of the tremendous support that we had when we were going through it, my family wouldn't have made it through. And like you said, you witnessed a lot of people that don't have support.
Yeah.
Like, I stopped into Maryland's old oncologist office a few weeks ago to drop off some flyers about the boating.
Yeah.
And there was a woman there who had to be in her mid-80s, and she was going into the infusion center. She was waiting. She was making her copay, and she couldn't really hear what the lady was saying. So I kind of helped her out, put her card in, and got a thing. And she had nobody with her.
Yeah.
And she could barely walk to the seat to sit down in the waiting room. Yeah. And I felt like if I I felt like sitting there with her and like, ma'am, do you need me to stay with you? I'll take you in there. I'll sit with you. I'll talk to you. Like,
yeah.
But she was just, it broke my heart to watch her walk to the chair. She could barely walk.
Yeah.
She has nobody with her. Yeah, not one person with her. And maybe she didn't have any kids, and maybe she's a widow, but there's nothing to, there's nobody checking on her. That's another flaw in the medical field. Why isn't there somebody with this woman? She's dealing with, she's going into the infusion center. She's in her 80s.
Yeah.
There's somebody going to pick her up. That should be a service that's provided through the doctor's office, that's paid for through the insurance company. You know what I mean? Like, there should be an Uber or somebody who goes and gets her and brings her to her treatment and goes in there with her, make sure she's okay, gets her back home, make sure she's fine before they leave. You know, that should be something that could happen to people who don't have any support.
Yeah.
And,
no, I think support is so important. Yeah.
But that's what I'm hoping to provide people with support that they need while they're dealing with this. That's my main goal with the foundation. And what do you have any suggestions other than mental health?
So I remember, I commuted into a large city from my hometown for work, for years. And I remember I'd get in the car and there'd be the ad, Cancer Centers of America.
Yeah.
When you hear that, and I would turn the channel, I don't want to know about that. Oh God, I can't imagine. But when you first hear that diagnosis that you have cancer, it doesn't matter what stage it is. It's frightening.
Right. Yes.
And the first thing everyone focuses on, and I think it's probably appropriate, is your physical health, right? Like, we got to cut it out or treat it or zap it or whatever the treatment options are. Yep. But what I saw in my experience, there were a couple of things. One, I remember going to the infusion center and, we'd all be sitting in our, recliner chairs. And in a lot of ways, I have to say, the cancer center I went to, it was almost like being a spa. They'd bring me my warm blanket and my ice water and snacks. And I felt very cared for and attended to. But in talking to women, because it seemed that there were a lot of breast cancer patients, I often heard women unsure of their decisions, not feeling empowered, not feeling like they could make the choice they wanted. So, for example, in the town I live in, there's, a couple of surgeons, breast cancer surgeons that are well known. And one is the one I went with, is the most lovely, attentive person. Oh my God, he's so amazing. And the other that is quite popular is not. He doesn't have that same bedside manner. And everybody's looking for something different. So I'm not judging. But what I needed was the surgeon that was going to come in at 6 a.m. and meet with me and Noel outside of hours, explain everything to us, draw pictures, not tell me, oh, it's going to be fine, don't worry about it. Right. And I remember one time sitting there next to a woman who was getting she was getting chemotherapy before her surgery. They were trying to, shrink the tumor before they did the surgery. And she said, I just like, and she named the surgeon who I had gone with, but I don't feel like I can go with him because everyone says I should go with this other one. Oh my God. Like, I was just devastated. When we are I think there is this mythology about medical care. And yes, I believe in science. I respect medical professionals. Yep. They've gone to school. They know a lot of stuff I don't know. But if you don't have a connection to your medical team, if you don't trust them and feel good about that relationship, no, it's not worth it. I don't care if they're the best whatever in the entire world. If you don't like them, it's not worth it. Go with the person you feel a connection with, because you're stuck with them. You're stuck with them for a very long time.
Yes.
The other thing I saw, I remember one time being at the pharmacy in my oncology center, and there was a woman in front of me, and it was heartbreaking. She didn't have the resources to pay for her drugs, and she made the decision not to get her oral chemotherapy that day. And I don't know what happened to her. I don't know what the issue was. I mean, my oncology center was really pretty good. They had good financial consultants who would help you figure out, grants that are available and, different medical programs that could cover your costs. But this woman, she was young. She was probably in her 30s. And I remember she clearly been through chemo, that bald. I'm coming out of it. I have hair now. It's quite a wonderful thing. Even though my hairstylist says this is crap and, we'll get to a better place sometime. But I remember thinking, holy shit, I cannot imagine making that decision to say, I can't afford treatment that's going to save my life. Not treatment that's going to make me feel a little bit better, or, I'm not talking about, painkillers. I mean, those are important, right? Like when you're going through cancer treatment, the pain is indescribable. I mean, I never had experienced anything like it. But even still, if I had to make a choice between life-saving chemotherapy and something that was going to, alleviate the effects, I would have gone with the chemo every time. And this woman in front of me had to make that decision and say, I can't afford it. That's horrendous, living in the most wealthy country in the world, that we have people that are making decisions about life-saving treatment.
Because everything's for profit in this country.
Yeah, no, it's awful.
And certain things should not be for profit.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of countries in the world that have shown us that this is possible.
Yeah.
And people don't think like, okay, yeah, but my taxes are going to go up. Yeah, but I don't care if your taxes.
I don't care either. Stand in line behind a person, a 30-year-old woman, saying, I can't afford my cancer treatment and I'm going to die. I mean,
they don't understand that. Yeah, your taxes are going to go up, but the money that you're spending in extra taxes, trust me, you're going to save by not having to pay for insurance.
Yeah.
By not having
more productive people that are healthy.
What if copays weren't a thing?
Yeah.
What if paying for medical insurance out of your check every single week wasn't a thing?
Yeah.
How much money would that save the individual person? I don't care about how much taxes are going to go up. The government will figure it out.
Yeah.
They got to make cuts else. They got to make cuts somewhere else and give it back to the people who need it.
I mean, those decisions are so tough. And it was heartbreaking. I remember telling some of my friends and coworkers, I work in a field where I have a lot of resources. I'm really fortunate. And that even though I knew that was true in a theoretical way, like I've always known that there are all these inequities and people don't have access, to actually be standing next to someone who is saying, I can't afford that today. And,
I'm hoping
they were, the pharmacist was like, let's call in the financial consultant. We'll try to figure it out. But just that anxiety, why do that to someone living?
Well, that's why that's why I'm hoping to get some funding here very soon, because that woman, I'm hoping I can help someone like that say, not have to worry about it, because they can pull a prepaid medical spending card out of their wallet and just swipe it and not have to worry about how much it costs.
Yeah.
Because the money's on the card. And it's sad that I have to start a foundation. Quite frankly, I have to take time out of my life to start a foundation to try to provide these medical cards to people who need it the most, because they can't, like you said, you personally witnessed somebody say, I can't afford my chemotherapy.
Yeah.
And
it's heartbreaking.
Trust me, I know how fast it goes after you stop your chemotherapy treatment.
Yeah.
My wife decided to stop doing chemotherapy and basically it was the middle of March, end of March, and she passed away in August.
Yeah.
So I mean, she had two solid good months where she felt great.
Yeah.
She wasn't doing chemotherapy, but that wasn't stopping her cancer from growing.
Yeah.
She didn't want my kids to remember her all the time.
Yeah.
She said, I want to try to feel better for it, even if it's only for a few months. I don't care. I want to feel better. I want to do stuff with the kids. I don't want them to always remember me sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she did it. She woke up one day and she said, I'm not doing chemotherapy anymore, Jason. And I said,
oh, wow.
I told her, honey, I always told her, I said, babe, we've been so happy for so long because I've never tried to tell you what to do, and I'm not. So, and that was the truth. And she never told me what to do. I never told her what to do. We were just a team.
Yeah.
We were the quarterback and we were the star quarterback and the star wideout on a team for 20 years. We were more successful than Bill Belichick and Brady. Like we understood that we were a team, and she made her own decisions about her healthcare the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most of the time, she wanted me to go to all her doctor's appointments because she would forget stuff.
Yeah.
She wanted me to be a stenographer for her, so she knew what the right voice was. You know what I mean? And I'm really hoping through this foundation that I can honestly help people deal with the stuff that you just.
One of the things that I saw when I'm pretty open. I'm like an open book. I tell everybody everything. I'm like, oh, my dead husband did. This is what happened. My breast cancer. Do you want to see my scar? Whatever.
Yeah.
I'm pretty open, and I understand that not everybody feels that way.
Yeah.
But it was really helpful to me to just be open. I mean, I told everybody I have breast cancer. And the people that came out of the woodwork, I had no idea. Yeah. There were so many women I had known for years who came to me and said, I had breast cancer. And I was like, what? What are you? I had no idea. I mean, and the kind of support I got was even more important than, like, I remember my husband's, one of his coworkers, who he always laughed. He said, I didn't know she had breast cancer. I just used to tease her about her poodle hairdo. She all of a sudden came back to work and had this curly hair, and I didn't know what that was about. And later she told me that was my first growth, hair after my chemo. And he was like, so horrified and embarrassed. He's like, oh my God, I thought you had a bad perm. She gave me this list, which I have since updated she called it something like tips for the next guy. And it was all her tips from what she learned about going through chemo. Because no one tells you. Pour maple syrup on everything when you can't taste food. It'll make it more palatable.
Do you have that? You said you have that list?
Yeah. It's just like. Do
you mind sending?
I'd be happy to share it with you. It's just a Word document that I've added to.
Do you mind if I put it on the website?
No, of course. Fuzzy socks. You need fuzzy socks. These things that no one, the doctors are so concerned about saving your life, which they should be.
Yep.
But then there's this whole peer community. If we weren't so cancer phobic, where we could be sharing these lessons we've learned. Yes, cancer is horrific. And I've lost my spouse. You have lost yours to the most evil thing on earth, cancer. Yep. I mean, I hate it. I find cancer to be the most awful thing. I wish I never.
I want to whip its ass.
Had to talk about it.
Pardon my French, but I want to whip its ass. And
I wish I didn't have to deal with it.
Yes.
But we live in a cancer phobic society where people are afraid to talk about it because if they talk about it, it might happen to them. I think that's kind of the mindset. Like, kind of. If you're a good cancer patient over there doing your yoga and Instagramming, yay. But if you're the one sitting there with a big swollen leg like I was, and scabs all over my head and, my nose wouldn't stop running. I was horrible. It was horrible. It was not pretty. I was not a pretty cancer patient. Not so comfortable. And I found the peer support I got from other women who'd had cancer to be absolutely one of the most important things that got me through it. And these were women who just came out of the woodwork. I spread the word because I was open, and I get it. Again, I know not everyone is as open as I am about spilling their guts about everything that happens to them. Right. But because I was so open, I had women calling me saying, I heard from so-and-so you have cancer. Did you know I had cancer? I had no idea. I mean, women who had come when I was working with them had come to work wearing a wig. I had no idea going through chemo with stage 3 breast cancer. No freaking idea. What the hell? I should have been taking them to lunch, bringing them ice water, rubbing their feet, whatever they needed. I had no clue.
Yep.
I have no clue. So I do hope one thing that we can do in the cancer community is stop this happy cancer is a journey. It's not a freaking journey. It's a hijack, right? A journey is going on a cruise. A journey is hiking through the Appalachians. A journey is something fun that brings you awareness and new ideas and wonderful things. Cancer eats away at you. It's just the reality. There's nothing good about it. Some people survive and some don't. But if we can help people survive as best as they can, like you said, with your wife, Marilyn, when she felt good those last couple months, she had a brief moment. That's what we need to capture. Yes. And not everyone's going to have that same moment. Some people have a week, some people have 10 years, but that's what we should be looking for. Is how, as a lay community, doctors, do your thing, come up with new treatments, zap us and all that stuff. I used to tell my oncologist I was the Joan Rivers of oncology treatments. How Joan Rivers loved plastic surgery. It was like any oncology, I remember begging her when chemo was over, can I have one chemo tune-up every year? But, there's a role for the medical community. I don't think they're equipped necessarily, at least not right now in the way our medical system is, to provide that support.
My wife's oncologist told her the first day, my goal is to make this so you can survive until technology catches up to you.
Yep.
And then they don't know how to beat this yet. They don't know how to beat stage 4. They have a lot of good treatments for stage up to stage 3.
Yeah.
But once you have it and then it travels, they don't know what to do. They just know how to maintain, hopefully get you to the long hauler status, which is 5 years after your stage 4 after your stage 4 diagnosis. And that's their goal. Their goal is to extend your life to the point where technology will catch up. But honestly, I think we're about 10 to 15 years away still to something that will be effective towards stage 4 metastatic. And that's unfortunate because there's a lot of women, breast, I don't want to misspeak here, but I'm pretty sure that besides skin cancer, breast cancer is the most commonly diagnosed cancer amongst women, I believe.
I believe that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, 30% of those women, like we spoke about earlier, are going to go stage 4. And then once you go stage 4, you have a daunting task in front of you. You have a lot of decisions that your family is going to have to make within the next.
It changes their whole life in a moment. It's that getting that biopsy report, meeting with the oncologist. And, I have, since my cancer diagnosis, I have met women who are stage 4 metastatic breast cancer, and, very brave women. And I may be there someday, right? I don't know. I could have a recurrence. I could become a stage 4 metastatic breast cancer patient. And I do think that in the system we have, we as a society, this cancer phobia, there is a cancer phobia. I don't know what else to call it. I remember when I told the folks that work for me that I had breast cancer, one of the best things was 2 of my coworkers were men, and I just like saying, I have breast cancer, breast. Like, it was like freak. They were like, oh my God. Let's not talk about your breasts. No, I want to talk about it.
Right.
And I think that the more we can do all cancers, people don't cause cancer. There are so many factors. There's never just one factor. You could have a genetic predisposition. You could have a lifestyle issue. People have all kinds of issues. You could have an environmental issue. There could be 1,000,001 different things that affect it. We should never, ever be putting on people who have cancer.
No.
You caused it. No. You didn't. No one ever causes cancer.
No, it's a genetic. It's
even with like lung cancer in smokers. I think about people who have situations like that, and we demonize them. Instead of let's get you healthy, it's like, oh, you're a smoker, you're going to get cancer, and then you're going to pay your price. We just, I don't know.
It's I think the phobia is that most people assimilate cancer with death.
Yeah.
So everyone's scared of death. Obviously, nobody wants to die. So when you hear cancer is, been around so long and it's killed so many people that people just assimilate that word with death.
It's scary.
Yes.
Scary. I mean, you saw what happened with your wife, and I saw what happened with my husband. It's a horrific experience.
It's awful. It's awful. That's the reason for the foundation, and that's the reason why I'm trying to support as many people as I can. I mean, and like this podcast is going to spread some awareness about what people are dealing with. Not many people have ever spoken to somebody who's a stage 3 breast cancer survivor who has also been a caregiver for somebody who ultimately lost their battle with, with cancer. So this is a very unique perspective that we're hearing today. And I've taken up enough of your night, but
it's been fun talking with you. I really appreciate it.
I really thank you for agreeing to come on the podcast. I look forward to seeing that list. I
will send that to you. Definitely.
I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who, and if only one person benefits from it, it's worth it. So but that's all it takes is one. It takes one person at a time. And then eventually over the years it'll be thousands of people
if you're on chemo and all you can eat is fruit snacks for 4 months, so be it. Just eat those. Doesn't matter. Don't worry about getting protein or any. Just eat those fruit snacks and applesauce and whatever else you can eat. It's a whole new way of living.
You go into survival mode, and you'll be surprised at what you'll do in survival mode.
Yeah.
So, but that, again, I want to say thank you for coming on the podcast. I hope the viewers had as an amazing time as I had speaking.
Well, it's such a pleasure to meet you, and I really appreciate you. Yeah,
I appreciate you coming on. And again, this is Kristin Pope. For everybody who forgot her name, because we've been speaking for a while, but this is Kristin Pope, and a stage 3 breast cancer survivor who is also a widow. A widow, just like
shout out to the widows.
We've both been robbed of our life that we had, that we were completely happy with, honestly, and now we have to find a new normal. And I've had to just keep swimming, like Dory. It worked out for her. No matter what happened, she kept swimming. Eventually, something good happened. So that's my mindset. That's why I've been doing that since 2019, since Marilyn got re-diagnosed. I had this just keep swimming.
Yep.
People ask me how I'm doing. That's what I respond with. I'm just keeping on swimming. So. But thank you again. I'm gonna wrap it up right now. You have anything else you want to say? Any last comments?
Thank you. It was great talking with you. And I hope that your podcast reaches people who can think a little bit more about how they can either empower themselves as patients, or who can support people
be aware of people around you might be aware of people around you that might be struggling, that might need a little hand every now and then. Yes.
And it's scary, I get it, but it's worth dipping your toe into that scary if you're someone healthy who can help someone who has cancer.
Absolutely.
Just dip your toe in there, go to lunch, take lunch while they're having their infusion. Hang out. The cancer community is a vibrant, amazing community.
Another one easy thing, and I don't know, but one of the easiest things that people can do to support people who are dealing with cancer, not just breast cancer, but other types of cancer, is go to the blood center and donate. Donate some blood, donate some platelets. Platelets are extremely important with dealing with various types of cancer. So that's one simple thing.
My husband had so many blood transfusions during his treatment because liver cancer, one of the big things he dealt with was low hemoglobin.
Yeah.
Threatening low hemoglobin.
I don't even realize that.
There's so many ways you can help.
You could change somebody's life by just taking a couple hours out of your day.
Yep.
So with that being said, I'm going to wrap it up. If you're a return subscriber, thank you for coming back. If it's your first time, please like and subscribe. All the support that is given to the podcast directly benefits the Marilyn Arena Foundation. So go to the website, check out the website, the MarilynArenaFoundation.org, and I'll be checking in soon.
And I'll be sending you my list. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you again.
So nice talking to you.
Yes.
Thanks.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.